Talk Real Estate with Sharon McNamara, sponsored by Boston Connect Real Estate Services.
Hi, I'm Sharon McNamara, and you are listening to Talk Real Estate Roundtable. Let me share a little bit about my background before we get started. I am the broker-owner of Boston Connect Real Estate, a boutique real estate firm that is home to over 30 real estate sales and marketing consultants who service home buyers and home sellers throughout Boston, the South Shore, the South Coast, and Cape Cod. Our firm takes pride in assisting our clients in the next chapter of their lives by taking a holistic approach to their real estate endeavors. We believe that every move should be a moving experience. Every week, my real estate team member, Mary Baker, and I, along with the director of Boston Connect Real Estate, Melissa Wallace, provide you with our unique marketing approach to selling homes and share with you our expertise in navigating the home buying process. We like to mix it up sometimes, so not only will you hear our perspective on real estate topics, but you will hear the expert thoughts and opinions of some of our real estate agents at Boston Connect Real Estate and the preferred professionals that we trust. Be part of our roundtable. If you have any questions during the show, please call 781-837-4900. We'd love to talk real estate. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and wherever you listen to podcasts at Talk Real Estate Roundtable. If you would like a one-on-one consultation with me and my team or one of the dedicated agents at Boston Connect Real Estate to discuss your real estate needs, you can connect with us at bostonconnect.com or 781-826-8000. Now, sit back, relax, take good notes, and let's talk real estate.
And hello to all my South Shore neighbors. You are listening to Talk Real Estate Roundtable. My name is Melissa Wallace, and I am joined in studio with Sharon McNamara. She is walking around somewhere. But I am also joined tonight by Allyne Beyer. She is a full-time realtor here at Boston Connect Real Estate, and she's joining us for the first time. Hello, Allyne.
Hi, Melissa. Hi, Sharon. How are you?
Good. Are you excited about being here for the first time with us?
Yes, I'm excited and nervous.
There's no need to be nervous. We're here with you.
Yeah, don't worry about it. George doesn't bite.
But Allyne, you actually came up with our topic tonight. But before we get into our topic, I want to give you the opportunity to introduce yourself to all of our listeners. Give a little intro to yourself. So, your name, where you're from, services that you provide to your clients, all that fun stuff.
Thank you. My name is Allyne, and I did live in the Duxbury area for 23 years. I've been a full-time realtor for the past couple of years, and I also have another business which complements real estate really nicely, in that it's called Sunny Home Solutions, and I help people declutter and organize and stage their homes to sell.
And that is such a huge thing, what we need. I mean, we do that as real estate agents a lot of times, but, like I've taken staging classes in the past. I'm not putting myself on that same caliber as you, but I think it is a very big project in a lot of cases. Like we were actually talking yesterday at our little mastermind that we have. Allyne and I have almost like a one-on-one every Monday.
So cute. I love it. It's really helpful.
It's our own little personal time. We talk about, things in real estate, and there are situations where we as real estate agents, we're going into people's homes and it's basic. It's, declutter. But then there are times where you go into homes and it's like, ouch.
Ouch is right.
Where do I begin, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to talk a lot about that this evening. Melissa is getting us all put up on social media, so you'll find us on Facebook. So you'll be able to go to Boston Connect Real Estate if you want to see us in our in-home studio. We also have George, who is at the WATD studio in Marshfield. Hey there, George. Ring a ling.
What's up?
He's like, I just ran back from wherever the heck I was.
Doing producer duties.
Producer duties. So
yes.
If any of our callers have any questions for us regarding real estate, they can get in touch with George at the WATD studio in Marshfield, 781-837-4900, 781-837-4900, and he will pipe you through to us and we can answer all your questions. Or you can go onto Facebook, onto Boston Connect Real Estate, and ask us a question right there live on Facebook, and we'll answer it. So, Allyne, great topic. I was going through the agenda earlier, and Melissa and I have been on different sides of the world today, just really, really busy days. And I was like, this seems very similar to some of the things that we've talked about as a real estate agent. And I want to take the time for you to sort of go in a little bit deeper and talk about, some of the projects. I know I won't get into it, but you have some high profile clients that we can't discuss their names, right?
Yeah.
So, which is really important. I'm going to keep their confidentiality. I
Thank
promise you. Yes.
Yeah, I will too. It's all good.
Yeah.
We're on the same page.
Yeah, we're
Thanks.
on the same page. I mean, that's definitely one of the things about us is confidentiality is the utmost with us. But you do have some very high-end clients. You have flown in different parts of the country. People have brought you in for your services. And why don't you just tell us a little bit more about some of the things that you've done and some of the things that you've seen and why you enjoy it so much. And your little pickup truck. in P.S., please join us on Facebook so you can see what a peanut she is. I am sitting in my chair and she is standing, okay? She's a little peanut.
You're so cute. Thank you. Well, small things can fit everywhere, right?
Yeah.
So where do I begin? I've just always been a natural organizer. It's something that came to me as a little girl, and I think it's because I grew up in a very tidy home where my dad did not allow anything to be left anywhere, otherwise it would be gone. And it was a museum because he was an antique expert, and so we grew up with a home that was not only built in the 1780s, but it was filled with museum pieces. So I was really excited to be able to move out at some point and get comfortable furniture and enjoy my surroundings and feel like I could touch and feel things. So I've been given this opportunity to come into people's homes and become friends with most of my clients because I offer them a safe space to just kind of talk about what their needs are, what their pain points are, give them permission to remove items from their home that no longer serve them. And often what happens in the middle of that is we start sort of shuffling things around. And so that's where the staging piece has come in pretty nicely because I have a very good sort of visual sense and spatial sense of how things can look thanks to my father. And because I grew up in such an artistic home, I think that's also given me the opportunity to be able to see really nice items in people's homes and highlight those. And I also feel like we are so connected to our items. And when it comes down to actually getting ready to sell your home, people want to keep out everything, right? But the reality is that the general public doesn't really want to see all of those personal items and perhaps even every piece of furniture that you have. So it's just about gently guiding someone and people into thinking how can we make more space? How can we kind of streamline your home?
I feel like someone like you and even Sharon, I know that you've done this. You guys, you have to have this sort of way with your clients where you're not trying to insult them or depersonalize their home because they're still living in it while they're either preparing or they're in the process of selling, but also sort of letting the buyer come in and be able to see themselves, envision themselves in your space. So I think that that's super important. Something else that I mentioned this morning when I did the call-in with Rob was staging a home doesn't necessarily mean that you're spending all this money, bringing things into your home or taking things out. It could just be rearranging the things that you already have.
Exactly.
Or putting it in storage and stuff, but still letting it function a little bit differently because somebody might come in and say, oh, yeah, again, Sharon says this, I'm not selling carpets, I'm selling, hardwood floors, or I'm selling windows, I'm not selling window treatments, type of thing.
And some people do have a difficult time, and I have to tell you, we had this conversation yesterday. Allyne brings out the niceness vein in me. You literally are. Let's just be honest. I mean, you're literally one of the sweetest people I have ever met.
Oh, thank you so
you
much.
Really
That's
are.
really sweet.
Don't you think?
I think so, yeah.
Honest to God, if you came in and told me my house was filled with crap, I'd be like, all right, look. But it would, that's how it would sound coming from me, and coming from Allyne, it sounds like, well, does this serve you properly? How do you feel about this, and how can we make you feel better about it? You're so zen. I love that about you. I actually invited you to go to yoga with me one time. I was hoping your zenness things would like just osmosisly go into me.
You did a beautiful job. You're awesome. You give yourself more credit.
Yeah, well, I am really saying you truly are one of the nicest people and kindest people. And I think that, going into people's homes, especially, we were talking yesterday, both of us have been in situations, and Faith was with us yesterday as well. And all three of us have been in situations where we, come upon hoarder situations.
Yes, those are so hard.
Those are hard. So, I mean, we're not licensed therapists or psychologists, even though we do have a licensed therapist who is a full-time real estate agent here at Boston Connect Real Estate, Evis Mason. She is part of the McNamara broker team. It comes in handy. But why don't you explain a little bit maybe about that, or am I just jumping too far ahead?
No, I think that's fine. I mean, I think my job, you have to approach my job with compassion, right? And understanding of people and their situations. And a little bit about my past. So my grandmother was a hoarder. And so I grew up in a situation where every summer I would go to California and spend a month with her in her home, and she saved everything.
Is this your dad's mom?
My mother's mother.
Oh, okay. So that's so interesting, isn't it?
Yep, totally. So she actually had 40 years of birthday cake tops in the freezer.
Wow.
She collected paper bags. She collected her hair. She collected prescription bottles from the 20s. I mean, there was a lot of stuff in that house, and it just progressively got worse as she got older. And so I've lived with that. And I think it's really about just trying to meet people where they're at and being gentle, but also being firm in a gentle way and a little bit assertive, and just try and convince them that, you really don't need this many of one thing. And how can we help you get out to the next stage of your life? And studies show that people who live in excess clutter and in hoarding situations suffer from high anxiety. And they have a hard time figuring out where to begin. And that's really the biggest trick. Like, where do you begin when you've gotten that much stuff?
Yeah, and that
how do you
happens
move forward?
Even for me. I'll tell you, like, when I look at feng shui, and I took a class on that, and when I had Mark on the show with me on Valentine's Day, we were talking about something that came up with feng shui. And I'd say myself, I don't consider myself a hoarder, because if you saw my house, it's extremely tidy, yes?
Yeah, you are not a hoarder.
I am not a hoarder, but I do have a problem with letting go of things, because I think maybe I would, or somebody else would have a use for this. Like, it's still good. So I have a problem with that. And that might come from a position of not having at one point. So when you do have it, it seems frivolous to be able to just throw that away. So for the longest time, I was able to convince Mark, well, I'm keeping this in case the girls get their own apartment. He's like, they're 4 and 5. Like, why are we thinking about this? And I was like, well, one day they will. And honestly, when they both got their apartments, I was able to fully give them stuff for their apartments.
That's nice.
But now I am at that point where I can imagine I'm overwhelmed with like 5 totes that I have. Melissa is overwhelmed with the totes that she has in her basement right now, right? It's like when you get into these bigger situations, does your heart race a little bit?
Yeah, it does. It can become very overwhelming for me as someone who steps in to help somebody, because I don't even know necessarily where to begin, and I don't want to be the person that comes in and says, well, that's not worth anything. But what I think is really helpful is we are such in a society now of paying it forward and upcycling and trying not to buy new. And I love the opportunity to take items that people no longer want and give them to savers or donate them to the pantry. Or I just took a bunch of cat food and was able to give it to the Standish Shore Humane Society, because this owner's cat couldn't use that anymore, and they had enough food for a year. And rather than throwing it away, I was able to give it to good. And so that's the other part that I love about what I do, is that I can pay it forward. And I think that most people feel much more comfortable about letting go when they know it's not going into a dumpster. It's actually going to be used by someone else. So that's a part of my methodology of how I work with people.
And it doesn't seem wasteful.
And it's not wasteful, no.
And it's interesting, because I think, the difference between myself and you is, yes, I have been in situations where I have worked with, hoarder situations. My situations are generally after the person has deceased, and then the family comes upon it. But my job at that point is to find you, right?
Yes.
So you're sort of in a situation where you're both and. right? So you can help them as a real estate agent. You know exactly, what is going to help them be more successful in selling that home based on the tools that you have that you're using to help them empty out a house.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I've staged my own homes a few times. I've moved many, many times. I most recently moved in last July, and I had to stage my own home, and I spent the weekend literally shoving things in the second floor of my garage that had space because I needed to thin out, and people were like, get rid of this. I even sometimes need a little bit of help, right? We all need to have that person come in and say to us, like, it's okay, and why don't we just thin it out? We're not throwing it away. We're boxing it up for later. And that's really helpful. I mean, I was out spreading mulch for curb appeal and doing everything that I could, and it felt really nice, actually. I was like, okay, here we go. Let's do it.
Doing it for yourself, right?
And doing it for others feels really nice.
Yeah, you brought up my totes, and I'm like, now I have high anxiety.
I'm sorry.
I can help you, Melissa.
I just had this conversation with Holly because I just bought a couple more totes to just get stuff out of my room and just, sort of mentally prepare myself for moving. And, she said, oh, when are you going to go through everything? Because I was like, I have just so much stuff that I want to get rid of, but I just don't have the time to get rid of it. So I think I'm just going to move it all, and then I'll go through it eventually. And then she's like looking at me like, you really think that that's the best idea? And I'm like, maybe I'll just take a couple days off after I move and just like go through all my stuff. She's like, why move it if you're going to get rid of it?
Exactly.
Like, get rid of it and then move. And I'm like, I can't think of this right now. I'm like stressing out.
Well, I think anyone who's getting ready to sell their home, if that's something that's at least a year away or even 6 months away, like today is the day to begin. And it doesn't have to be big. It could start with a drawer. It could start with a closet. It could start with your clothes. It could start with your shoes. It could start with, kids' toys or anything that you are no longer using all the time. And I do believe that when you wait until the last minute, that's when you either take it all with you or you start throwing things away needlessly because you don't have a plan, and then that hurts even more. I would much rather have someone say to me, I want to move in 6 months. Can I start today? What do I do today? And we could come up with a plan. We could map it all out. We could do weekly goals. We could check in. And then when it's all finally done, I can come in and help them like move furniture or just sort of add those touches that we need to do to make it all look better.
Right now, I'm in the process of, I'm going through a Jack Canfield program, and it's actually, I have like 30 days left. It was like a 90-day program that I joined, and Jack Canfield is the author of the Chicken Soup for the Soul books, and I have been a follower and a lover of him forever. I've seen him in person at the NARA convention, and he asked for a volunteer, and I manifested that he would pick me, and he did. Nice. Success principles and things like that. So I'm on this, mission to be a more inspired leader and really helpful for our agents, for, our agents and our clients, just for their successes. And I wrote down the word drawer when you said that, because one of the exercises that he did last week with us was, 10 minutes. So everybody knows Mel Robbins and the 5-second rule, right? So when you if you feel like you can't get out of bed, you just say, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and you just do it. Well, he has the 10-minute rule, and he's like, he goes through this whole process, and really anything can be done in 10 minutes. It's taking that first step. And he gave an example of, he was with a coach, and the best people and the highest leaders all have coaches as well in several areas of their life. And, one of Jack Canfield's focuses was on health and wellness, and he really wanted to start exercising. So his coach, they were on like a webinar, said, all right, Jack, I want you to give me 10 push-ups right now. And Jack's like, no, I'm not going to do that right now. We're in the middle of a webinar. He's like, no, I am not proceeding forward, and you're going to hold everybody up until you do 10 push-ups right now. So you have to start at some point.
Yes.
So he did this exercise with us. He said, all right, I want you to think of something that's been holding you back, that you need to do, but you've been thinking about it. It's a bigger project. So for me, I had some health things happen a couple months ago, and I put my yoga membership on hold. And I've been saying to myself, I really want to go back. I loved how I felt about it. And one of the last classes I went with was with you. And you can do anything in 10 minutes. So he said, like, how will you feel? Like, he wasn't talking to me directly, but it was a whole exercise. Okay, that's something you want to get back into, doing yoga and being healthy and eating healthy. What's one step that would help you get there? So in my head, I said, take my yoga subscription or membership off of hold. And then he gave us 10 minutes to do whatever it was that everybody was thinking about. One girl was like cutting up boxes in her garage for 10 minutes, but she got started. So I got my yoga thing off of membership off of hold. And the one thing that he said is like, if organizing is one of the things that you plan that you want to do, and how are you going to feel afterwards? He's like, maybe it will take you more than 10 minutes to clean out that drawer, but why don't you take that drawer out, put it on your kitchen counter, go back to what you're doing, and then later on when you're back in your kitchen, that's when you'll clean it. So it's just really taking those first steps.
Yes.
And soon you'll be walking out the door.
Absolutely. And I think for me, like, I love listening to podcasts. And I think when we sometimes have something else going on in our head, then it makes it that much easier. Or you set a timer, and for 10 minutes, I'm just going to focus on this one thing. And often you get a lot farther down the road than you ever expected you would have, because it's just taking that first step.
How happy am I when I clean out my pen drawer upstairs? I call her in to show her. Like, it's this big deal.
My pens.
I'm like, look how clean and neat my pen drawer is. I have a thing for pens. So, yeah. And Melissa's like, it looks great, Sharon. Can you now please, go back to work? I can now because my drawer is clean. Right. I can actually do that.
Yeah,
so,
you've gotten it out of your head.
Yeah, and you get stuck on it.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And it just, sort of gets your whole mojo. The other thing, too, you had sort of hinted upon this, or Melissa did, is, it's the emotional attachment to our things. And I remember this one time I had a listing in Norwell. They were buying, actually, new construction, 55 plus here in Pembroke. And the developer gave my name. I went through the house. After I left, the woman called. She was older, and she said, your real estate agent told me I had a lot of stuff. You thought I was going to say it, but I didn't. He said, oh, okay, I'll talk to her. And he's like, hey, did you tell this lady that she had a lot of stuff? And I said, no, I did not. I was trying to gently tell her, one person doesn't need all of these silk arrangements with all this cat hair all over them. And you know what I mean? But I said it nicely.
Right.
And I was like, unless she's a mind reader. No, I'm kidding. But, then I thought about it. When I see an empty vase, I see an empty vase. When she sees an empty vase, she sees the flowers in it from their 50th wedding anniversary.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, it's amazing how attached we can get to things. And, I just like to use my own personal experiences, because I had a situation 10 or 15 years ago where I was moving. I was newly divorced. I had to downsize, and I had to make some very serious decisions about which items I was going to keep that were my mom's, because I lost her when I was 26. And I remember distinctly standing above a dumpster holding a lamp that she had given to me in my 20s. And I looked up to the heavens and I said, it's not that I don't love you. It's that I would rather keep the sock monkeys that you made as a little girl on my bed forever. That's what's important to me. So I think if we can identify really, truly those items that have the most importance to us, but be mindful of it, it's really okay. I think often people get stuck in that mindset of well, my mother gave that to me, or that was my great-grandmother's, or this and that. Well, they're no longer here. And they're probably okay with the fact that you can let go, but keep a picture, or keep a card that they wrote to you, or something that's very sentimental, that's of their actual words, that you can hold in your heart, instead of keeping a whole lot of stuff around you that doesn't necessarily work for you today.
Yeah. You're looking at me like I was about to say something. I wasn't going to say anything.
I thought you were going to say something. You were very intrigued in that conversation. Well, it is interesting, because I know, when Mark's mom passed away, my daughter Mackenzie, my youngest, she is the only one that is crafty in all of the 27 grandchildren and great-grandchildren and everything. So we inherited her whole entire room. I mean, this room had to be 20 by 20 filled with everything.
Wow.
And we have totes, and we have boxes, and we have wicker baskets, and we have all this stuff filled with all this material, and sewing, just everything, knitting stuff. There's just so much stuff.
It's overwhelming.
And, now we don't have any space in our basement for some of our things. And then we just made the decision recently, and I think it might have been a little difficult for Mark, that we moved all that stuff and all of her lovely belongings that meant a lot to her, and they mean a lot to Mackenzie. But she has an apartment, upstairs in the attic over our garage. So it's all well protected. It's all fine. but I could see that emotion when we were trying to do something like that.
Yeah.
But as soon as Mackenzie gets her own house, it's out.
It's out. Bye-bye. But it is hard. And I think we're New Englanders, right? And I know that sounds sort of silly, but I think we're sort of raised to like hold on to everything. Keep everything just because you might need it or you might want to hand it down. And I definitely have saved things for my kids that I think are important, like baby books that I'd like to be able to share with my own grandchildren.
Yes.
Hope, knock on wood, and give to them. And my son Henry's Lego collection, which is extensive. But that's going to go to his house when he eventually gets one. Yeah. But, I think back to staging, I don't know if you want to sort of talk about
whatever
any
you
of
want
these
to talk
things
about,
that we've, I do think that I put together this huge list. It's way too long. We're never going to have the chance to go through it all. But I do think that, for example, in your kitchen, if you're getting ready to stage your home, try and clean off all of your kitchen counters and put everything away and kind of thin through your cabinets a little bit. People love to be nosy. People like to look inside your space and see how much room they might have for their own things. So if things are a little bit too overwhelmed and cluttered, people are going to say like, well, where's my thing? Where are my things going to fit,
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, if your counters are covered with things, it means you don't have storage for them. You might use it every day, but, like, even at our house, like, Sam might use the toaster oven, but he's not allowed to leave it on the counter. You have to wait until it cools down, and then has to put it away, because Mary doesn't want it on the counter.
Really? A toaster oven?
Yeah.
That's sort of a bigger thing. I think we were talking about, like, Lay's potato chips or something.
Yeah, no appliances on the counter.
Mary? Mary?
No.
The toaster oven? Really?
The toaster, the
Kitchen
thing that looks like a spaceship that goes, I don't know, the pressure cooker, all these things.
The pressure cooker.
It looks like a spaceship.
Oh my gosh, I am literally getting you a spaceship for when that home comes. Again, we want all our listeners to know, we say it every Tuesday and Thursday, Melissa is looking for a home, so you need to call us if you're thinking about selling. So anyways, we'll give
I need somewhere to park my spaceship.
AKA her pressure cooker.
Yeah. I don't need a garage, though. Don't worry if you don't have a garage. You're not allowed to have anything on the counters.
It's kind of how I was raised.
But also, like we've done a show before on the 5 senses, it's like if your countertops are covered with things, how is anybody supposed to fall in love with them?
Right.
How is anybody supposed to touch them and, feel the grain or whatever? You want to highlight the best features in your house. And if you updated your kitchen a few years ago, you want to highlight that. You don't want to cover it with things that you're going to be taking with you.
Exactly. Yeah. Yep.
I think it's so funny because I want to feel the grain. Every time anybody walks into a kitchen, they always touch the kitchen counter. We talk about it over and over. Yeah, they touch it. So when you said grain, all I could think of was like breadcrumbs.
Oh, yeah. Well, sometimes staging is cleaning.
Yes.
Yes, staging is definitely cleaning and cleaning.
You should be cleaning your countertops and your floors and everything.
Absolutely. Yep. All your baseboards and inside your closets, and get your bathroom scrubbed up.
Let's talk about paring down your furniture and rethinking your furniture placement, because this is so interesting to me. Because spatially, I think I do a pretty good job at how furniture should be placed, right? And it's surprising to me that some people don't, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think we all have our own attributes and talents, right?
Yeah.
And some
see what
people
I mean?
see
She's
things.
just so much nicer than me, no matter
Everybody
what
has
I
their
say.
own taste, is what I'm saying. Some people don't have the same taste as you.
This is how my conversations with Allyne go every single day. Like,
she has to think about it for a second, and then she responds to you.
So the girl with no filter is talking to the woman with a major filter.
Yeah.
And you're like my yin to my yang or something here.
That's why we fit so well.
Yeah.
That's why I feel so at home here. It's perfect.
Yeah,
no, I love it.
Yeah.
And, furniture's weird, right? I mean, I think that people love furniture, and sometimes we just collect too much. And I think that's also a part of our generation.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we're big collectors. And so it's not necessarily that what you have is bad. It might just be that all of that doesn't need to fit in that space. So how could we maybe fill it or add something somewhere else. So maybe something in your living room doesn't really go there. It did at the time, but now we're going to use it in a den, or we're going to move it upstairs into a different space, like an office.
And that's what we do a lot when we're, when we have our new listings and we're staging and doing some things, we will, and that the certification that I got to be a professional stager as well, that was our exercise, is taking things, we had to like barter with people. I had the kitchen, so you had to barter with people for different things. And it is amazing what you can do with just the things you already have.
Yeah, definitely. I love working organically. Like, I'm not someone who wants to rush out and buy a bunch of stuff and put it into someone's house, because we don't need to do that. I think it's about just using what you have and complementing it, and having it become more of a focal point if it's a little bit buried by something else.
And I think that's nice, Allyne. I mean, as much as you're being, conscious about understanding why people don't want to throw things away because they don't want to be wasteful, you're also respecting that the granular part of that is money, and you don't want them to spend money unnecessarily either. So. No. And I'm thinking about even myself. I find myself doing, I used to just run out. I'd go to the Christmas tree shop or get whatever I needed. And, we did some renovation in our basement, and I had these frames, and I have all these, pictures of Boston and stuff. So that's what we're going to put them downstairs. The frames were brown, and I wanted them black, and I thought about buying new ones. And then I asked Mark, I was like, can you just paint these? So that's what he's been doing. He's just painting them. And wow, I bought 2 cans of spray, and I only needed one. So I spent $14, which one frame would have been more than that.
Yes,
and it
absolutely.
feels good.
Doesn't it feel good?
Yeah,
it
they're
feels
like
so
brand new.
nice. Yeah, it's again the recycling what you have, using it in a different way. How do you make it a little bit different to suit your needs for that time? Because we do change our, I have a friend who constantly rearranges her furniture all the time, and her husband's like, why?
That's Sharon.
But that's how she is. She's an artist, and she gets enjoyment out of that. And it helps, in some ways, I think it helps a homeowner feel like they're not looking at the same thing every day.
Yeah.
Right? It gives them a little bit of diversity and flavor.
Yeah. When I'm stressed out.
We have a saying around here: don't tell Mark.
That's
and
adorable.
that really means Mark can find out after we do it, or if we need help,
or when we make a mistake.
Every
time I take out a hammer, don't tell Mark.
Don't tell Mark.
Bang, 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 bang. Oh, look at the holes right over here. And then I call my painter, and I'm like, Kevin. So Kevin Center is my painter. He's wonderful. He's in Pembroke. And I'm like, Kevin, can you come after, come when Mark is in here? Can you? And then he was here one day, and Mark out of nowhere, in the middle of the afternoon, Mark just shows up, and he's like, hey, Kev, why are you here? And Kevin won't lie. He's like, Sharon, put a couple more holes in the wall. Yeah. Oh, well. So, all right. So depersonalizing, I'm not going to talk too much about that, because pros and cons, sometimes I think that, having a little of that makes it feel more like a home. I know that HGTV says take down everything personal. Some of the artwork and stuff off of the refrigerator and, decluttering type stuff.
Just
I think
thinning
is important.
it out.
Yeah.
I think it's really helpful. I know that I pack away all the pictures of my kids and me when we move, but I have a lot of artwork that's kind of interesting and different.
And that's sort of different too, because of the age where your kids were, right? So the boys were at a certain age when you were doing that. You want to respect their privacy as well. I had a home in Duxbury one time, and she was a school teacher. She had several children, and there were pictures of all the kids, you could not take these pictures down. There were so many of them going up the staircase. Every single person that came out, I had her as a teacher. I went to school with that one, so I can understand that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think also depersonalizing, or maybe even not including, Sharon doesn't include pictures of children's rooms in MLS, so they're not going to Zillow and stuff like that, because a lot of people, there was a trend where you posted your kids' names on their, bedroom walls and stuff like that. It's just, that's totally putting your information out there. Were you following?
Oh, I appreciate that. You okay?
I was just tripping myself. Don't worry about it.
No, that's really smart, and that's really respectful, and that's nice. And I'm sure a lot of people really appreciate that.
Yep.
We don't need to advertise our kids.
No, absolutely. When our kids, my kids are obviously older than yours, but remember the backpack. Don't put your kids' names on the backpack because if somebody's at the school bus, they'll see your children's name. And that's how I feel about the internet. And the internet is free. And so are all of these websites that we go to. So you're going to see people's children's names all over the place. So I choose not to do that unless the parent is adamant that we put it in. I love this accessorize in threes because that's me. I think in threes as well. So I didn't know if that was an ADD thing. So let's talk about that.
No, well, I mean, I'm trying to think about situations where, I was looking at some pretty pictures the other day, and it's just, I guess the concept is that you try and form a triangle with one particular item, whether it be a plant or it be a vase or a picture, some type of a focal point, and stick it in the room in the shape of a triangle so that your eye gets to flow and it's not stuck in one spot. And you're tying in a similar theme. And I think everything looks better in threes. Like people plant gardens in threes. There is something, it's that odd number that is more attractive than having everything be uniform and done in groupings of 2 or 4 or 6 or 8.
I'm thinking of all the threes I have in my life.
Do you have a lot of threes?
I'm just thinking I have like these 3 little candles.
I'm more focused on how many 2s I have now. Now you know that ADD in me is going to be home saying, okay, we have 2, we need another one.
Oh, gosh. Don't tell Mark.
Don't tell Mark.
Well, if I have 4, I can get rid of 1.
That's smart. There you go.
Yeah.
Or put it somewhere else.
Look for 4s instead, Sharon.
There you go.
Okay.
Look for 4s.
All right. So add functional office space. How about you do have some great things here. So don't leave your walls blank. So let's talk about that a little bit.
Well, I think if you're taking down a lot of personalization and then you have these gaping walls, it doesn't create a homey feeling. So to find something that can replace that so that you're getting, again, another focal point and you're making the space look really nice and comforting or cozy or lived in.
And I love this too is, like hang neutral artwork and like to avoid some religious pieces in nudes.
Definitely.
Nudes?
Nudes.
Yeah, nudes.
Oh.
No nudes.
No nudes.
Put your nudes away.
I had to put all my nudes away. Mark, if you're listening,
Don't tell Mark.
If we ever sell the house, we have to take down all the nudes.
I do think that it's a hard one to say to somebody, I know that you have a certain religion or a feeling affinity towards these various symbols, but you need to put them away, because I think it's not to say that somebody's going to be offended by it, but maybe it's just like that's your own personal preference. So keep it into your heart and tuck it away for now and give people an open space to look at.
Yep.
Yeah,
I agree. Unless it's like this, I can just remember this one little old lady that I had, and she had all the little like Mary statues and things like that, and she was just so upset because somebody told her she had to get rid of all of them and blah 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 blah. And I was like, "Do those make you happy?" And she said, "Yes." I said, "Then you can leave them there."
Nice.
And then what I did is when she wasn't there and we had a showing, I just sort of moved them aside. They weren't showcased all over the place. And I would expect if somebody came into my office upstairs, I have my Mary statue. I'm a Catholic schoolgirl, so I have my Mary statues. And at my home, I have Mary statues, and St. Jude was my patron saint. But those are from me. They're not for anybody else. So that's why, and sometimes when I'm dusting in my office, I always say I actually have a picture of Mary, and when I first opened Boston Connect, one of my clients actually gave me that picture.
Nice.
Yeah, so I always say, I'm not hiding you. It's between me and you, girl.
Yeah. It's
Right?
just your little, yep.
Just like between me and you, girl.
Just me and you, Mary. And I'm not talking about Mary Baker.
And then I'm yelling from my office, "Are you organizing your pens again?"
Yeah. Melissa always knows, like, chances are when I've, like, shut my door, it's, like, severe concentration, or she's moving her desk again, or she'll hear me under the... Things, like, drive me crazy, like all those wires everywhere.
Oh, those are a lot, yeah.
Do they drive everybody?
They drive me crazy,
Yeah,
for sure.
Something that drives me crazy is when I can look at listing pictures and like you can see under the bed. I just don't. I don't know. I don't like it. I don't like being able to see all your stuff under your bed.
Right.
It's just like a big pet peeve of mine.
Well, you know what's worse is when they have the skirt, like the bed skirt, and like half of it's up, half of it's down.
Yeah.
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 But again, these are things that people are noticing, and that's why we hire professionals like Allyne, right?
Yeah.
We want Allyne to go in there, and she sees these things. Again, Allyne, give your nice talk to Melissa about that situation, because sometimes people just don't know what they don't know.
What? Looking at under the bed?
Yeah, that, maybe I shouldn't let everybody see under my bed.
Yeah, I don't know if I want anyone to look under my bed.
I mean, I have stuff under my bed, nothing like that I would want to hide from anybody.
I think you want to hide. I'm saying hiding from pictures. You don't want all that stuff in the
right.
pictures.
If you're staging your house, I think just take it out, put it in the closet, put it somewhere where it's safe. You don't need to worry about it for now.
Well, I just think that if you have all that stuff under your bed, I'm immediately thinking, okay, well, you don't have enough room in your closet. You don't have enough storage somewhere. Like, why do you have
true too.
Yeah, that's true. But she literally works for the FBI. Don't tell anybody.
Me? Why?
Because you think things like that all the time. Like she never thinks like, it's just where they put it. There's a reason behind it.
There's a reason behind everything. Well, now that I'm like a buyer, I'm like thinking of these things, you know. It's one thing to talk about being a buyer, but to be a buyer in this market, it's like, well, I'm questioning why you have so many things underneath your bed.
I'm going to start calling you Daphne.
Daphne
from Scooby-Doo.
Daphne. She's the blonde one?
I don't know which one she is.
Is she the redhead?
I don't know.
I think I don't know.
No.
Who's the blonde one?
It's been so long since
Show
I've
off
seen
your
Scooby-Doo.
storage. I think this is great. I showed off someone's storage this past weekend. So, and that's the other thing too, when it comes, for us, I think, one of the things that Boston Connect Real Estate is very, very good at, all of our agents, is like our social media presence, our videos and, YouTube and everything that we're doing. And this past weekend, one of the things I loved about 595 Jefferson, which is a new listing that Mary and I have, I love the feel. It feels very city-like to me, like very brownstone-y. So like that's what I did, and I sort of highlighted that. But one of the things I really loved was inside their pantry, they had all these big mason jars with the black,
like the
chalkboard on front, and they wrote on it like walnuts. And I was like, how easy can you make my life? I need walnuts. I know exactly where to go to get them.
That stuff's really fun.
It really
I like
is.
taking pantries and turning them around and giving them a whole new life and making them orderly and adding those nice containers or just finding a theme that works well for the person. And I've done that in laundry rooms and I've also done that in closets. And
now, is that a suggestion if somebody was thinking about selling their house in the next 3 months? Would you suggest that they do something like that? Or is that more of a long-term, I want to enjoy my home right now type thing?
I think that you want to make your closets look nice and attractive and give people a sense that like they could have the same nice, attractive looking closet. So offer them suggestions by what you've just put together. So I would do it now, and you can always take them with you and put them into your next closet.
But you could always sell them.
Or sell them or
make them negotiable.
Yeah, exactly. Leave it behind. But I do think it's wonderful. For me, for my brain, I'm very orderly in what I see. And so to open up a cabinet and to see all those baskets or beautiful mason jars like that is just dreamy.
Yeah.
It is dreamy. We are speaking the same language. I wish the show was 2 hours long right now.
You're cute.
Yeah, we only have 7 minutes left, so we want to get through. Is there anything that on here, because I know you said that your list is pretty long, is there anything that we haven't touched upon that you definitely want to get?
Well, I certainly think that curb appeal is huge. I mean, that to me, you want to make the outside of your house look as attractive as possible. And so if we get that weird scum on the walls, that green stuff in the winters, if you can get a pressure washer, which is cheap to rent for the day, and just make your siding look clean and clean up your front doors. And if your mailbox is looking kind of old and ratty, they're not very expensive to go to Home Depot and get a new one. You could even put new numbers on the side of the house if those aren't very visual. And if you need to paint your front door, you know, like just try and give your house show off the best of who you are with your home and how it's first presented. And I think that brings in a lot of attraction, right?
Yeah. You have a question?
No.
Oh, okay, good. I was going to be polite and let you do yours first. So if you have somebody who's thinking about buying or selling their home and they call you for a consultation to, one, give them a value range of what their house is worth so you can help them get it on the market. And secondly, to help them with these types of projects, do you just give them a list of suggestions and say, this is what I suggest that you do and this is who I would suggest and refer you hire? Or is it one of those things where you're in there changing the numbers out on the front of their house?
I think it depends upon my time and what their needs are, but I would certainly offer them all the resources that they need to help them get, like, I think definitely making a list is huge, and find out what's manageable for them and what they need to hire out, or what I can offer them too as a part of my service.
Because you gave me a very comprehensive email for one of my clients that was an estate sale, and I had forwarded it over to them, and ultimately they went a different route in a different direction, but I was just curious about that, if you're the one that's out there doing the work. Are you out there painting the door?
No, I'm kind of over that part of it. But I'm happy to move furniture around. I'm happy to help them, like give them guidelines for their closets, or, that's where the organization piece can really come into play. And I'm happy to spend some time. I'd give them some of my time. If they're honoring me with the sale of their home, why am I not going to help them make it look as beautiful as it possibly can? And there are certain things in my wheelhouse that I can't do anymore for time, but I have wonderful resources that I can offer them to call and use. And
I know you were doing a bigger project over in Nantucket as well recently, right? That's all done? Weren't you doing a project over in Nantucket?
I did a project just for a friend over there. It wasn't like that.
Oh, okay. But you were, but what my point is that you are going in different places and you're helping people.
Yep. I went to Sun Valley in January and helped my client get her house ready and organized, and she had just gotten all of the construction finished, so we unpacked, and it was fun. It was kind of like not necessarily staging, but we sat and discussed, like, oh, let's put this here. What about there? And it was just a huge interior design project that was really fun.
That's really nice, especially if people don't know. Like, you might say, oh, this is why I'm thinking about putting this here, because when you're sitting here, you will see it,
Yeah, and so at one point she had a few chairs there was one space. It was a dining table and a couple of chairs and a tall, skinny sideboard. And I was like, what if we take one of those chairs and stick it over there by the front door, because you like to come in and sit down and take your boots off. And we were able to push this little cabinet over to the right, and that chair fit perfectly, and she was so happy. She was like, oh my God, this is great. I would have never ever pictured doing that.
Awesome.
So I think it's helpful because I don't live in that space, right?
Yeah.
When you live in your own space, you sometimes can't see
past it, right?
You're
so far into the woods.
You're so far into the woods, yep. And so it's fun to be able to go in, and then if people are open and willing, because I'll just say, like, can we just try it? You don't have to do it.
And again,
can we just try it?
She can get away with it, right?
Yeah.
I would thought too. I mean, even
you can go through my stuff.
As stubborn as I am, I would be like, all right, Allyne, do whatever you want. Like, I trust you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I mean, I think that, bossing people around, you're not going to get what you want.
No.
But if you can gently guide them and walk along the journey, then they're happy.
And at the end of the day, I mean, that's what people are hiring you for, is to help them, right? I feel that's one of the things I love about all of the Boston Connect agents is, like, and I said this to somebody earlier, we're not motivated by money or by numbers. We are motivated by helping our clients and meeting them where they are, right?
Exactly.
You said that. We say it around here all the time. So if people want your expertise in helping them buy a house, sell a house, do some of this staging and purging and all that, how can they get in touch with you?
Well, they can call my cell phone, 781-733-4915. They can also reach out to me at Allyne, Allyne Beyer, Beyer, at, well, I was going to give my Gmail, but I think let's do the Boston Connect. Sorry.
Do that
I have too many in my head. Allyne, Allyne, at bostonconnect.com.
And that's really easy.
It is super easy, and, my greatest love and satisfaction in this world is helping others and being of service.
Well, that's awesome. And we're so lucky and fortunate to have you here as one of our full-time agents at Boston Connect Real Estate. Agreed, Melissa?
I agree.
Well, I feel so blessed to be here. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We'll see you on Saturday. We have Emmy Flaherty with us and Samantha from Radius Financial Group. So join us on Saturday, and 3 ways to win in this market. So thank you, George. Have a great night.
Bye.
You as well.
Thanks,
All right,
everyone.
bye, everybody. BostonConnect.com if you want to find Allyne.
Thank you. Bye.